Hey everybody, Derek Gilman here at the Ganjier campus along with Kevin Jodrey. We just finished filming some new content for our upcoming Cannabis Product Specialist program. But we are here to discuss something else. You recently took a trip to Pakistan. I think many people have heard about. How about any different techniques, any different hash-specific techniques? You know, I know you got a lifelong experience, in cannabis, but pick up anything new.
I did. I was really surprised at how they approached like aging resin, because they age it on the plant. They don't do it the way we do. We take cannabis, we capture it fresh because of climate, temperature, and then we make it and then we let it sit. Because you're in the Himalayas and it's so dry, even in the wintertime it's bone dry. So you get snow, but it's dry snow. Most of the precipitation is really glacial melt.
Okay.
So it's extremely dry and extremely cold. So you're not going to lose any of the volatile components from sitting. And what they do is they basically take the cannabis and tie it up it looks like, wheat being stored. And they literally let it get snowed on in these like A-frames. They hold them up and snow literally snows on it. And they just let it sit. And then they process it when it warms up in spring. So it gives them a good 5-month period. And it's in that process that to them ages it and allows them to off-gas the components they don't want. And then once they dry sift it and then they press it, it's ready to go right now. And it was different because normally if we take cannabis, we make our hash, specifically like a dry sift, and then we go into it, we have these brighter flavors, but they're more directional. Mm-hmm. In this case, the flavors were a little less bright, but far broader. More nuances within it and notes that I'm not used to seeing in hash. Some of the fruits and the floral components were so light and bright.
Yeah. And
it just made me realize that we're masking them with other molecular compounds in the way we do it. And it's not about one's better than the other. It's just really about preference, but it was fascinating to enjoy that because for me, that type of hash experience is ideal. And especially the older I get, I just noticed the older I get, I like a more balanced experience than like a really high directional one.
Sure.
And I was receiving it from that process. We just can't do it here because our climate doesn't allow us that kind of holdability.
I think Frenchie had mentioned along the way about processing aged crops before that were properly handled.
Yeah, that he had talked about, I remember he was speaking about, when he got into Mendocino originally, he started accessing people who had older crops that had sat correctly.
Yeah.
And the quality of the product that came out of it was just phenomenal. And so it was this beginning to understand of like, really, how do we talk about holding crops for time? What's the value of a crop in its current situation? How do we take a crop and turn it into higher value added? And there's so many different ways of doing it that you start to really learn there's no one way and no one way's best.
There's so many different ways, because, it seems like it's evolved most recently into the more fresh frozen.
Completely.
As being the go-to. But it really just depends on what you're looking for that end product to be in, right?
It is. And it's the thing is that really all hash from these areas was kind of like a fresh frozen in a sense because of the climate when they harvest. So when they're chopping it, it's never above, say, 50. And then at night it's down in the 30s. And then right there in the mid to end of October, the harvest is done and you're into 0, but dry. Mm-hmm. So you're able to hold the cannabis in this preserved way to where it's not really degrading. It's different than like, say, Central or Southern America where the temperatures are temperatures are higher. And you have to protect the flower from the heat so you don't degrade it. Mm-hmm. In this case, as long as you can keep the plant from being overly oxidized from sunlight, which the snow does, that first dusting of snow captures it and traps it, and then it just sits. And so I said, whoa, so like a lot of our ideas that we do now, they really replicate these processes that have occurred prior. We just get to use technology to do it. And the dream is to bring a team of people to Pakistan that are professional extractors of modern technology and introduce them to extractors from Pakistan that are professional extractors but from historical technology. Mm-hmm. So that the two can look at the resin extraction from the respective positions and then find out what's common and what's different. And for me, because I'm someone who makes hash, but I would never consider myself a hash maker. That's why it would be incredible to have some real hash makers be able to be brought over to talk to the real hash makers we met there.
And are you comfortable sharing this project that you're working on? Because this is beyond hypothetical.
It's beyond hypothetical, but we're going to go that far. We'll save that one.
Okay, fair enough,
We'll
man.
save that one.
On that note, you travel to Pakistan. I'm sure you saw a lot of crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm. I saw a lion in the back of a pickup truck.
What do you mean?
Somebody had a lion in the back of a pickup truck.
Just driving down the road?
In town. You could have walked up and got near it, and this thing was ferocious, and I was cracking up, so I'm like, only in Pakistan.
Open pickup truck or in a cage?
It had a cage, but it was a cage. They only had some like big bars. It was a big lion. I'm telling you, it was. I could not believe it. It was right there next to me in the car. I could have reached out and stuck my hand in the cage and probably come back with a stump. But I saw a lion in the back of a car.
I think I told you this, Kev. But a lot of us were following along with you, on your adventure, because you were posting stuff while you were out there, and it was a lot of fun. I remember seeing you get there, and there you are in like the outfit that you had bought and prepared, for the trip. I'm going to Pakistan. I need to write, gear. And then like a week or a few days into it, I see you got this hat. I'm pretty sure it was the hat. It was the first thing I saw.
Yeah, that was a gift.
And and there's the traditional hat, and you're rocking that thing. You're like, yep. And you had the beard of going, of course, And then like a week later or a few days later, I see you've got like this shawl type of thing.
Yep, got the blanket on too.
And there's the hat, and now it's the shawl. Okay, and I could just see you kind of just evolving into this,
It's funny, but anytime you go to another country, you really get to see why they do what they do. And the Chitral cap was a gift, but it's a beautiful wool hat, so it keeps your head warm. But it was a gift from one of the Pakistani guys I was rolling with, and Afridi. And so he Salamat. So he throws me this hat, and I'm just like, all right, I'll wear it. And then I noticed everybody was wearing all these blankets and stuff, these cool, really quality wool blankets. And I realized that because of the way you can layer them and wrap them, they're really more effective than like a jacket. And I said, I'm getting one of those too. And so the next thing you know, you're wearing and I'm learning how to wear this thing. And
yeah, there's a certain wrap.
Oh, you're going full native.
And then then my favorite was, so now you got the hat, you got the wrap, you got the shawl thing, and now I see you got this video of you, and you're in the back of this vehicle. It looks like you're in the back of the vehicle, and there you are, okay, full outfit, just and you're rocking out, and you can hear this traditional Pakistani music just going.
We got the musician in the car with us.
Really?
We picked him up in the park. There was a guy in the park. It's like a 19-string guitar. That's this traditional Afghan Pakistani guitar.
All right.
And he was playing it, and it sounded incredible. And we talked to him and said, hey, would you want to come hang out with us for a while, and then we'll drop you back off? And he said, sure. So he hops in the back seat of the rig, and he proceeds to play this beautiful song. And it was funny because I had to find out what the song was about. It was about this man who had died in the mountains, and his wife had gone to recover him, and she had done all this beautiful stuff in his memory. It's a real story in Pakistan about this Japanese lady, but it's like a folk song. And so he's playing this folk song in the back of the car, and I'm holding the camera so I can capture it, but I'm looking in it because I got a beard that's out to here. I got my cap on. I got my shawl on. I'm wearing the whole outfit at this point, right? And I'm listening to this music, and I was just being sucked up into the culture, and it was my first real experience with that culture, and I just couldn't get over how gracious everyone was to strangers. It was this idea that if you're a stranger and you're not at home, you're mandatorily brought in as a family member because that's how they want to be treated. And it didn't make any sense when we were in that first city, Islamabad, because you're in a big city. But the minute we got into the mountains was when I understood it. I realized that the mountains are so massive. The Karakoram, the Hindu Kush, and the Himalayas are such a ginormous mountainous region that's so immense and so intense that if you didn't have some support, you could die. And they just create a relationship that says the region forces us to behave different. And to me, it's kind of like Humboldt, where when you're on a back road and your car's broken down, people will stop and say, yo, what's up?
Because it could be you
It could be
next.
you. And it was this realization that this hard life creates these relationships. And Humboldt by no means is as aggressive in terms of range as the Himalayas, but it's really similar in terms of the fact that it's hill people. And these are mountain people. And I instantly understood the relationship, and I just got to really enjoy it because no matter where we went or who we met, they weren't gracious to you. So we would go up the side of a mountain and then walk onto someone's farm, and the people would come out and speak to the other Pakistanis with us and say, "Oh, you must not be from here. Would you like some apples? Do you need some walnuts? Tea? Would you like tea?"
When resources are scarce, community is critical.
Oh,
it's
without
the
question.
difference between survival and not.
And-
And that's why you see it here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to behold in other places. And I think for me it was just a real revelation because we had been fed this information about that region for so long that it's just these, radical individuals that have violent tendencies. And that, as soon as I was getting on the plane, I get a text that says, they're going to cut off your head, literally. And I'm like, whoa, that's not what you expect to hear, like when you're about to go someplace. And what I received was, and I think we traveled almost 3,000 kilometers. So we end up starting in Islamabad. We go all through this upper northern part of Pakistan, all along these mountain ranges, drop down into Lahore, and then fly out. So it was this massive trip through this entire, basically the rooftop of the world on the Silk Route recreation. And there was no way with that many people and that much distance that you would have expected to get such a common treatment. I couldn't believe the common treatment everywhere we went. And because I was white, they hadn't seen white people in some of these places. People came out and just wanted to touch my skin to see if it came off in their hands. And they were like, whoa! It was crazy. But it was always in this really gentle, peaceful mountain way. And it just let me understand cannabis culture, regardless of where we are, it creates a different bond and behavior in people. And hash is most definitely their culture.
That's beautiful, man. Thanks for sharing some details of your trip with us, man.
Right on, man. It was a great time. You got to come with me.
Cool. Yeah, I would like to come with you.
You got to go.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time.